Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick, and welcome to Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who is the awakening woman? She is a woman who's seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal, but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, your sensuality, and your soul. They share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. My guest on this week's Her Conversations is Energy Coach Dihessa Bodjona. Her gift is to help her clients understand and use their energy to create the results they want in their lives and their business. During our conversation, Dihessa shares how needing to make changes for her son made her aware of needing to create a good energetic environment. We talk about how different areas of the brain are responsible for certain aspects in our life, and we also discuss the cultural stigmas and misunderstandings surrounding energy work. But as always, I begin by asking all of my guests. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel you're most her?
Wow. When I'm fully embracing myself, when I am feeling my true essence, really, when I'm embodying probably not all that I am, because I feel like there's always room to grow into. And I feel like I haven't experienced, or even though like I have experienced some of it, I feel like there's more to experience. There's more of me, my true essence to experience. And so for me, that is when I feel truly mostly alive, is when I'm feeling my true essence, when I'm feeling connected to myself, which means I'm feeling peaceful, I'm feeling gratitude, I'm feeling one with others, I'm feeling full of joy and full of love. Yeah.
Perfect answer. There you go. So tell everybody about you. How did you become the energetic guru that you are now? You know, what
energetic guru. Good.
You can have that one and see all over your copy now, and you'll be like, okay.
Okay. I'm Dihessa. I'm the energetic guru.
You can have that for free.
All right, I'll take it.
Go for it, man. When I see all of your Instagram, I'll be spamming, just go tagging myself. Go, come on, give me my props back, please.
Energetic guru, I'll take it.
Nobody else has claimed it yet, you know. And sometimes
I'm telling you, now is the time.
You have to put exactly. You have to pop your own color sometimes. You know what I mean?
All right.
Anyway,
you mean how did I get involved in the whole world of energy? That's what you mean. Or how did I become the energetic guru?
For sure.
Anyways, actually, for me, it all started with one of my sons, my youngest sons. They always are teachers, right? Do you have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah. So when you do, maybe you are, maybe you were. I'm pretty sure you were a teacher for your parents. You know, I don't know if they'll look at it that way, but like I always, I always like now with my experience with my own kids, I realized that it wasn't always obvious to me, but it became very clear at some point that even parenting is so overrated, because our kids are here to teach us so much. If we pay attention, we'll get it. For me, it was my youngest son at first. He's my big guru. When he was born, and when he was about 4 years old, he was in pre-kindergarten here, and a lot of things just weren't going well for him. Right? Like he was in pre-kindergarten, and he was very strange for for even the teachers' standards or for other kids' standards. And I remember that when I will drop him in school, a lot of the times where he will be is where I'll pick him up. He didn't mingle a lot with the other kids. He didn't like people being around him. He just stayed in his own little world. And he, like, even with me, he didn't like us hugging him that much. He didn't like anybody touching him. And I was like, at first I thought it was just a phase that he was going through. But then a lot of things started coming up. How, like, he was kind of behaving in school. He was like, because he didn't like people being in his energy so much. Like, if anybody came to him, he would be like reacting very aggressively. Sometimes he'll be throwing chairs around. Sometimes like he'll be like screaming off the top of his head, like lungs. Sometimes he will be slapping. There's been days when, like, they called me because he slapped the teacher, because the teacher was trying to hold on to him tight and he was really trying hard to get out of it. And so from there, like, everybody was like, there's something wrong with your son, you need to get him checked out. And so we went to therapy, like he was into, like his brother was into occupational therapy, which is really fine motor skill stuff. But for him, it was beyond that. And like words like autism came up, words like Asperger came up and stuff like that. And that was the summer. That was really prior to the summer when we were going to go back home to my native country, Togo, West Africa. And when we went there, I met one of my mom's friends, and my mom was like, you need to meet with this guy. And he has a lot of interesting things to say. And she said to me, I think you should take your son to meet this guy. We're like, okay, sure. And so long story short, we went to meet this guy. And the guy took one look at our son and he said, there's nothing wrong with him. And we're like, well, that's not what all the professionals said. And he said there's nothing wrong with him. The only thing is that you guys think you are the normal ones, and he is the normal one. You know, like, the only thing is that he's super sensitive to energy, and everybody else's energy is so chaotic around him. He just doesn't know where to go and how to deal with this. And the only way he knows how to deal with that is to check out of the world. And to check out of this world and to withdraw into his own little world. And I remember thinking, oh my God, all the professionals, you know, like the psychologists, psychiatrists, they said, like, the word that kept coming up was, your son is checked out. He's just not here. He's just not here. And I was like, oh, and he said, when you learn how to manage your energy, when you learn how to create a safe, energetic place for him to be, then he'll know that even when he go outside in the world, and that the outside world is chaotic, he knows that there is a safe place for him to come back to. That is when he'll come out of his shell. And so that's how it all started. And we started looking into, how do we manage our energy? How do we tap into our energy? There is such a thing as the body's energy field. There is such a thing as it actually affects every single thing in our lives. There is such a thing as it's even like being the root of whether we are mentally ill or physically ill or well or not. And so that's how my journey started. It's a very long way to tell my story, but here we are. I finally landed this plane.
But do you know what? With everyone's story, it's never. Oh, you know, I was a little kid, and then one day I woke up and here I was. It's like so many things that we have to learn along the way. And so many different skills that we have to pick up, and so many delays we have to experience in order to want to get a little bit hungry or get a little bit annoyed for a situation or meet someone, so that when you get to that space and you have all of the background, and also so that people can relate to you as well, because the story that you've told then opens you up to being more relatable to more people than if you just went, you know, I'm the energetic.
I am the energetic guru.
You know what I mean? But it's like it just you know, you hear these different things, and it was when you were talking about your son as well, I was thinking so much, and you know, I don't have any personal experience of this, but because in certain, you know, it's in certain awarenesses, we are becoming more aware that the children that are coming up now, that are being born behind us, are of a different, you could say, species. That their makeup is different, their energy is different, their sensitivity is different. They come into the world and into the space that we've created knowing so much, and then we try and push and squeeze them into boxes that we ourselves don't even fit into or understand.
Exactly.
And then expect them to behave and conform to a world that isn't even going to exist anymore. You know, it's you know what I mean? We're moving out of one age into another, and yet we're still trying to get children to fit into an age that isn't going to exist anymore. It's dying. And even
that's a very good point. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it from that angle. I do know that we're changing, that's for sure. But I never, you know how sometimes you can hear something and then it hits you from a different perspective. How we're trying to fit them into a mold for a world that will no longer exist, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even exist. I mean, when I think about the way that I work, you work, and so many women that I know work, in terms of using the internet and creating and finding our own way of working, this is going to become more and more the norm, and so many jobs and industries are going to become obsolete as we realize that technology, if we use it correctly, is here to serve us. And yet we're still sending children into a school system to kind of work 9 to 5 and blah 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 blah, blah. And so much of that is not going to exist,
non-existent anymore. I know, it's just shutting down. Anyway,
so it's interesting to see, because you see people who are embracing it, people who are scared of it, and then I don't know, that they're like people who just don't have any clue that this technology exists. They've managed to sidestep it completely, you know, and it's just like, you know, where will their place be in the world if they're managing to what kind of lifestyle will they have with that technology? I rely on it all the time. I love it, you know. Probably too much.
I know. There are some people that have a lot of resistance to it. And there are some people that don't even know it exists, or they don't even, but that's okay. It's like the world is evolving, and when we need to, we'll fit into it.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I wanted to ask you is, coming from an African background, and you know, my background is Jamaican, West Indian.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, my family. So, and I know how, from the bit that I understand in terms of like speaking to people and observing everything, how talking about energy and that kind of realm was seen, and it was usually seen as something that was like, we don't talk about that, or it's obia, it's witchcraft, it's voodoo, it's hoodoo. It's like, how did it fit into your culture?
Let me answer this question. It doesn't. It actually doesn't fit at all. Even though the guy that I met, it's very weird. Even though the guy that I met that actually introduced me to this whole thing is from, also, he wasn't from Togo, he was from Benin, which is a country nearby. But the way that it's looked at, it's very weird. It's not accepted at all, not much. Maybe things are changing now. Of course, people are opening up more and more. But at the root of it all, it's witchcraft. It is the devil. It is, you know, like I remember, like recently I decided to really reach out to even like the African continent, like specifically. And I really want to, like, this is a passion of mine. And I really want to share this with, you know, my culture, people in my culture, because that's how I grew up. And I can definitely see where the resistance can be. But like, I've never gotten this much, you know, like kind of like literally like direct attack from like when I do it here in the West world, like in the US, in Europe, and in wherever in the world, I don't get that. And I was very surprised, but not so surprised, by when I'll get a message that said, this is pure devil, or this is pure witchcraft, and blah, blah, blah. So, but, it's what it is. And I feel like, yeah, some people may say it is witchcraft. Sometimes, like, I hear it so much, I'm like, are they right? Like, I have to ask myself, maybe I'm the person that's wrong here. But then I have to go within and go from that space always. Otherwise, yeah. Like, how is it in Jamaica? Is it like, I'll imagine it's,
I think,
more accepted. Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't know. So I know embarrassingly little about my background in terms of, to say anything about it. But having kind of spoken to, here it is, having kind of seen the elder generation and how they were about talking about obia and witchcraft and the devil's work and everything like that, I can see to an extent it wasn't something that was welcomed.
Yeah.
And yet, when I really start looking into especially the women, the elder, the matriarchal level of women within my family, and the way that they went through life, and then, some of them have passed now, but the experiences that they had and the things that they used to talk about, and then subsequently where they ended up in terms of their outlook and mental health.
Yeah.
A lot of them were working with spirit and they didn't know how to handle it.
That's exactly what that's exactly what happens for me. I'm not going to speak with all African cultures or anything like that, but from the little that I have seen and experienced, not little, I grew up there. I lived there I was born there and lived there until I was 21 years old, before I moved to the United States. And back then, I heard a lot about witchcraft. I heard a lot about sorcerers. I heard a lot about all these things. But what I didn't hear about back then was energy. But the thing is, even witchcraft, quote unquote, or even all that, it is, from my perspective now, is just manipulation of energy. Right? It is just manipulation of energy. The only difference is the level of consciousness with which you tackle it. Right? So it's like you have something, you can utilize it for the greater good, or you can utilize it for something else. And the only difference between left and right will be the level of consciousness or the information that you carry into how it is that it's just a tool, right? It can just be a tool. When I actually look back, my ancestors knew about energy in a very, very pure way, right? When I look back, like even in the village, there was always like the sage, that was connected to even like all the trees and nature, and really had conversation and was connected to divinity, if you want to call it that. And then with Christianity and with everything that got involved, it just turned into something completely different. And I don't know, and it turned into something. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to qualify it now. And so I wouldn't say that. I know I said that it doesn't fit, but at the same time, it's like there's underground wherever you go, because the truth is the truth, right? Wherever we go, it doesn't matter where you go in the world. There are those that are actually connected, and there are those that are only on the surface, right? And it doesn't matter which country. Even like when from the surface we think, oh, those people from this country, no, they're not connected, like they don't like anything energy. But like what I find is that when you open to it, you will connect to those, even though the majority may not have embraced it yet. So I think that's where I will go with this one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you 100%. And just, you know, my aunt who's also always mixing up her herbs, and this people, you know, everyone's doing it now. And so, you know, it's just that they've kind of bottled it and put a label on it, and they've called it a certain thing, and aromatherapy, and that this has been going on for forever,
the beginning of time.
Yeah, before we even know, you know,
I know.
or using dreams or praying for somebody. All of this kind of stuff is all the same thing, and we just put different names on it. And when people kind of get too woo woo, it's seemingly, then we want to kind of smack them down, and I think that's a lot of where the issue came from, was not trusting in the fact that there was a connection, and then religion turned the conversation with God into something completely different, and weakened the human, weakened us as, you know, the purveyors of the strength. So, you know, I this is what I'm seeing with it. Yeah,
it's sad. When we I recently, it seems like the subject of religion is a very hot subject, like it's a hot button. Not to touch, because which I completely can understand, because there are people for whom this is like their comfort, and this is their what they've always believed in. This is where, you know, they always go back to, and that's the root of everything that they are, right? And sometimes when we say the word religion, there's been good to religion, parts of religion good, but there's been also, if we were to be honest with ourselves, there's been, you know, part of it that has created more disruption than uniting us as human beings. So.
And it's just taking the power away from people. I think that's one of the things it's done, taking the power away from people and individuals, and then also kind of taking the power away from women as well, which, you know, those two things have like created issues that we're still working through. So, you know, I came across you talking about you. I came across you because I saw you online somewhere just talking about working with energy, and working with energy to actually create the things that you want to in your life, you know, like positive change, like manifesting money or bringing clients into your business. How did you then start to get to the point where you were like, okay, I understand now how I can create a clearing of the energy. Now this is actually a tool that I can collect and I can manipulate in the nicest possible way in order to bring the things of favor into my life?
Yeah. Oh, good question. Ooh. So initially, again, like we started because I'm the one that like went looking, searching for it. I need to figure this out. I met my teacher, and then I started doing his trainings, and I discovered the world of energy that way, which was I discovered that energy has everything to do with our physical body, actually. That there is something inside of our physical body, and it's connected to our brain, our body and our brain. And then there's no disconnect between our brain and the universe. And that our brain is also, you can call our brain, God is in our brain, divinity is in our brain, and that everything starts with us, right? And through our body and through our energy, we can connect to our brain, and really realize that our brain is kind of like a transformer, and it actually gives us exactly what it is that we want, what it is that we tell it that we want. But a lot of the times we send these mixed signals to our brain. I want it, I don't want it, or because of a lot of things that we may have, you know, experienced in our lives in the past, or sometimes because of even things that generationally we're carrying without even knowing. Because of that, we send all these mixed signals to our brain. On the conscious level, we're saying we want this, but then in our subconscious, right, in our DNA, like, that's really bad from us, for us. And so how does it display itself? It displays itself through how our emotions show up, right? our emotions always show us if we are thinking thoughts, or if we're giving the signals to our brain for exactly what we want, or are we giving the signal to our brain for the opposite of what we want. Right? And so what I discovered was, and I actually started applying this myself. I realized that when I was energetically aligned at the time I was running a website design and online marketing business. When I was energetically aligned, like I would get clients out of nowhere, which meant that I released resistance around what it is that I was wanting. And when I wasn't, then it became very hard. And I remember this very specifically. When there was like 1 week where I had like three potential clients lined up. All of them were like ready. They were going to give me the credit card numbers, and they were like, I was really aligned. And then something happened and threw me off. And I wasn't. And then I remember that one day, every single one, all three of them who were ready to give me their credit cards like the day prior, all three of them that same day messaged me to tell me how they can't go through with it anymore, or how something unexpected happened and they have to delay, and how like I was like, what happened, right? And so that's how I started experimenting myself and realizing, when I do this, right? And then, oh my God, like when I'm energetically aligned, when I'm into my, like I talk a lot about the parts of our brain, the neocortex, which is like the calculating part of our brain, or like the limbic system, which is the like emotional part of our brain, or the brainstem, which is our inner knowing, really, our inner knowing. And so the more we make it a point to get into the brainstem, the more we are aligned with our true essence, right? The more we are aligned with who we truly are, which is that presence that knows that there's nothing that we can't do. Everything is possible, blah, blah, blah. All those things that we may hear from all the big gurus, right? All the big gurus, but it stays just knowledge, or that maybe our own preconceptions, or our own information in our DNA and stuff like that is not allowing us to access at the time. And so the whole point about energy is to access our infinite self, so that we can become really, truly and intentional creators, because that's a power that has been given to us. And it seems like we just don't know how to utilize it effectively. And it's the power of a brain. It's the power of our brain.
And so good that you managed to like crack the code almost,
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to things, and I think so many people relate to it. I know it's something that I heavily relate to when you're talking about generational blocks, and the ones that you don't even realize are there, because they're so deeply embedded, and because you grow up in your family unit, and this is the way that things are done, and so much is unsaid, that you don't realize that you create those, you sabotage things, when you were talking about the day where one day you had clients and the next day that you didn't. I can totally relate to that. Where it's like everything's lined up, people are coming, and then one by one things just happen, and you're standing there in the middle of it going, what did I do?
Exactly.
How do you work out what it is that you do? Because I've been in situations where it all seems good, people are coming out the woodwork, and then suddenly you're still standing there.
All of a sudden. Yeah. And so for me, what I do now, again, I talked about the brainstem. So it's actually so magical. One of my clients told me recently, it can be that easy. It cannot be that easy, can it? And I say, yes, because we always create. So we are always creating. Everything is of our own creation. One of the things that I focus on the most now is not really focusing on what created, what in my generational pattern has created this. It's mostly how, like, what do I really want, right? What do I really want first? And then how do I tap into it? How do I really enlist my brain to give me exactly that? Because as we all know, whatever it is that we focus on, we create more of that, right? In the past, like a very long time ago in the past, I used to want to like get to the root of it. What's the reason? What's the reason behind me having done this? But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter actually. From what I have experienced, we can do it two ways. We can do it two different ways. We can try to find these blocks, determine these blocks, and try to release these blocks, which means that we're putting a lot of energy towards that, which actually, from what I have experienced, which actually creates a lot of the time, creates different layers of other blocks around the original blocks.
Right.
Oh, we can look towards, what is it that I'm trying to create? And then in the process of trying to create that, right, through energy, we can really observe ourselves and see, this is one of my tendencies. I am trying to avoid feeling this way, right? And then catch that, and decide that, even though I'm feeling this way about this right now, this is my vision, this is my goal, this is what I'm going towards, and I'm going to focus on that. Even though it doesn't feel so good right now, even though it feels uncomfortable right now, I'm only looking, and I'm going to do it anyways. And from what I have experienced, even with my clients, that's the easiest way to actually resolve the blocks and actually create a new story for ourselves, and actually create a new story for our next generations. Because then we break the cycles, as opposed to really being into the same cycles and trying to figure out, how did I get here to begin with? Because the fact of the matter is, no matter what the past has been, we can always create a new future for ourselves for tomorrow. We can always choose, which is like the big thing, choose what it is that we want to create and go for it. And then know that our blocks, of course, our resistance will show up along the way. But know that even though we know the resistance will show up, what I do is I really enlist again in, like, when the resistance shows up, what I do is I go into the brainstem, which means go enlist that part of myself that knows it's okay, it's all good, which means also the observer, becoming the observer along the way, on the path, becoming the observer and knowing that, this is just a phenomena. Everything is a phenomena. This is not me, it's mine. This situation is not me, but it's mine to create. It's mine, and even though it's right here now, I have the power to change it. This emotion, it belongs to me, but it's not me. This isn't, like, that emotion is not me, right? But it belongs to me, which means what? I can make the choice to change that emotion, right? No matter what. This body, even if it's achy, no matter what it's doing, it is mine. The body doesn't have power over me, but the body belongs to me. The body responds to me. The body is, I am the master of my body. I am the master of my thoughts. I am the master of my emotions, which means I can change my emotions. I can change my thoughts. I can change the condition in my body. I can change anything, right? And for me, from the way that I have experienced it, only when we really tap into our true essence, the true essence of who we are, can we become that, right? And as I'm speaking and as I'm sharing this, I have to add, as the energetic guru.
Of course. See how it fits you.
No, it doesn't. I'm just joking.
I know.
Yeah, I have to add that even though I've been doing this for a while, for a long time now, I still get into space where I am like, I have preconceived idea, like my DNA and all these, the generational things. It pops up, it comes up. When I have it every single time, it never fails me. It never fails me. Every single time I have a new, bigger goal, it always shows up. Why does it show up? So that I can feel it, so that I can focus on my vision, and in the process of pursuing my vision, heal all the patterns of my past, heal all the patterns of my past generation. And from what I have experienced, even my ancestors are very happy about that. Because this is how I look at it. I look at it now as we are here to finish the job that they started for us. Yeah.
I hear that a lot. And you've been given the role code breaker, you know. So yeah, I resonate with what you're saying on that level. And once you get over the fact that it's like, why me? It's like, well, why not? You know,
why not? Yeah.
Let's do this. And can you recall one of your most amazing manifestations when you just went, oh my, I've got it, you know, when it was almost like it happened and it was amazing, and you were still amazed that it was so easy, but amazed that you did it, and like you knew that you'd found the wave to slip into, and you're like, okay, I've got it.
Yeah. I think for me the most memorable one will be like, I remember this. It was maybe like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when I did like, I know, like, I'm going to go back to money with this one. When this was about money, but it was also about growth in my business. So by then I had never made not even more than like $2,000 in my business by then. And like I woke up one day and I was like, listen, brain, listen, energy, listen, we are doing this. We're going to do like a $10,000 this month. And I remembered, and I actually created the whole flow of how I was going to do this, to enlist my brain, to tap into my energy, and to create this. And I did it for two reasons. I did it for, number one reason, for my own experience and experimenting. The second reason was, this is what I kept saying to myself: if I do this and it works, just show me how to create this, right? I was always asking myself, just show me how, my brain, show me how to create this, so that I can show other people how to do it also, so that I can share this with other people. And I remember I did like one specific, like an energetic exercise to input this into my brain and get to the point where, like, by the time I finished, I was like, oh my God, even like every single cell of my body felt that this was a done deal. Like, it felt, even though I didn't know exactly how I was going to make it, it was at the beginning of the month, like, this is happening this month, blah, 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 we are making it happen. And I did. And actually that month I made like 11,700 and something like that. I wrote the number down somewhere. Like, I have the exact number, because it was so, for me, it was so big at the time. I was like, holy crap. This work. And from then on, that's how, and I kept evolving. I kept experimenting, and I kept working, and kept like expanding bigger and bigger. And as I kept working with clients, I kept seeing, oh, this is something that pops up sometimes for some of my clients. Oh, this seems to be popping up a lot for some of my clients. So I kept adding and creating and adding and creating. And for me, that was very, very, it was very like a turning point for me, you know. It was a turning point for me, because I realized, oh my God, like, my brain really wants me to tell it just what I want. And it will tell me, it will show me the ways that I can make this happen. And number two, I can actually share this with people, you know, and I can share with this with people. And it was the pivotal moment for myself personally, and also in my business.
And as a mother, is it something that you are passing down to your children and showing them, you know, so that they don't have to go through life the hard way like we did? No, and kind of introducing them to the fact that this is their right, you know, this is the way that it works, really, or they probably know already, you know, because
So well, my children, if they listen to me, I'm just kidding. So my kids now are teenagers. They are 15 and 17-year-old. My 17-year-old, he thinks he knows it all. He doesn't need to listen to mommy at all. but I think all in all, it's not really about what I tell them. It's how I be, how I am. Again, it's all about, like, I noticed, like I shared earlier, it's not about what we say. It's not about even like what we do. I think it's mostly about like what we are energetically. You know, I have seen that a lot. Like, when I'm energetically out of in chaos, it shows in them, you know. And when I am aligned, it definitely shows in them. My youngest son, he was lucky enough that when by the time we started, like my oldest son, he was a little bit older. So like for him, he didn't get to absorb all the goodness of energy as much as his brother. But again, his brother is very sensitive to energy up until now. I think for us, for him, the biggest gift that we were able to give him at the time was to let him know that he wasn't crazy, that everything he was feeling, because in school everybody thought that even if he said, because he was super sensitive, he could see a lot of things that regular people couldn't see. And he started thinking that he was abnormal, that he wasn't, like he was crazy, or like he wasn't okay. And for me, I think the biggest gift that we could have given both our kids has been to let them know that no matter what they are, no matter who they are, that like they are okay, they are okay no matter what, that it's all just a process. I wish somebody had told me this when I was younger. I really do. Yeah, I really do. That, anyways, yeah, but our parents always do the best that they can. And
With
I'm
what they
sure
know.
that tomorrow, my kids will also say, I wish my mom had told me this before. It's all evolution, It's all evolution, yeah.
And speaking about evolution, are you in, when you have your moments and just thinking about what you're teaching more and more people to do,
yeah,
are you hearing the conversation change now? Are you imagining a time when it will be where everyone will understand the power that they have,
Oh yeah. I don't think we have a choice. I don't think we have, like, I think even if the universe has to drag some people like kicking and screaming, that's my belief. Because look around, like so many people are awakening so much, so deeply, and I think this is the era of it, and that's what I believe. I may be completely out of my mind and completely wrong about it, but this, I feel it to my core. Even some of my friends whom are never in my wildest dreams, I will have thought will be into this. Like it's awakening. It's like breathing. Like you can't escape it, right? It's either I feel like it's either we wake up and we go along with it, or like extend. Like I feel like we're going into an era where like we either go along with it or we perish or something. I don't want to use that word, but you see what I mean? It's like we either go along with it or we won't be in it.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, because it just seems like there are, like you say, that there are people that are talking in terms that, using language that I know when I used to speak about certain things, when I used to talk about energy and this and that, not many people would join in, not even join in. They'd kind of be like, the face or the twitch or anything like that. And now the ones that you would never even think about that stuff are starting to just kind of introduce that conversation. And matter of fact, and you're like, but 5 years ago, you were down on my neck for saying all of this. and now, now look what's happening. And also then, interestingly, I know this is no real gauge of, but popular things beget, put it in the mainstream. Just seeing more and more popular figures talking about things like energy and all of those, like the fringe esoteric things now. So not even they're going further and further to the points where everyone's got their own personal shaman, and it's
exactly. And I feel like very soon, like energy will be the new language. You see what I mean? It's just so common now. Like when I think back, just like you said, 5 years ago, like the way we speak about it now, like it's so different. Like it's so more mainstream. People, it's like, oh, okay, well, wow. Yeah, it's like people talking about vibration. Oh, okay, people are more familiar. It's like a current, and it's the happening, you know. It's like discovering ourselves, which is a very, very good thing.
It is, and it will be interesting to imagine or see, because we're going to witness it, I believe. Like you say, we're going to witness a world that changes when people are living in a completely different way to where we are now. And for those that don't, you know, there are two schools that I've kind of listened to that about what's going to happen in that instance. It's like people will wake up, and then, you know, there are some that go before and just have to kind of like do the hard work, and then some people just wake up the next day and they'll be in it, and there won't be any recollection of the previous world. Or there will be almost like a splitting, you know, where there will be some go here and some you don't know where they go, because they just won't be in your field anymore. You won't see, you won't hear. There will, you know, you don't know if it's a perishing. It will just be like, it will be whatever happened to so and so, because they just won't be around anymore.
Either way, it'll all be good. It'll all be okay. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't even feel like it will be like one day we wake up and it's like you can see it already happen. I feel like we are already in the midst of it. It's already happening. You know, it's already here. It's already happening. What's going to, like, which world will we be in maybe 2025? We'll see. You know, we'll see. And for me, I think the most important thing is because there's a lot of saying out there. Again, I don't know, like, I can't tell. I can't say what's going to happen. But one thing is for sure is that the more we are connected, for me, the way I look at it, even like when we look at life and death, for example, right? A lot of people think about death as some bad, dramatic thing that happens. That, you know, like more and more lately, I have felt like there is really no separation. There really isn't. There really isn't. There is no such thing as even being born and being dead. Technically, there is being born. Technically, there is a death, but there's not really like if we always were and we always will be, then there is no beginning, there's no end. You see what I mean? And so I think this is something that I myself, like, it feels like energetically, I'm like, my body, my brain is still processing this. And then sometimes I wake up in the morning and I was like, oh my God, it's like a new awareness just comes. And it's not like just about information that I absorbed somewhere. It's just, new awareness. And for me, the way that it feels is that I think for me, the most important thing is to always be connected to who we are, will always be, and will never not be. Right? And if we are, then whether there's life or death, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's coming. Like things are coming out of me. But you see what I mean, right?
Sure, I do.
Yeah, so I think we have a lot of ideas of a lot of phenomenon maybe happening, but I think for me the most important is because whether we are in this physical body or not, we always will be energy, right? Before life we were energy. After life, after people, at least that's my belief, that's what I have experienced. After somebody is no longer in their body, they still are as energy. They just are not in this physical body. Right? But if we are so not in touch with energy, if we don't even know what it feels like, then it is very dramatic. When it happens, when we're no longer inside of this body. But if we have the habit we have this habit of, if we have a habit of connecting on a regular basis to light, to energy, then when it happens, it's just a transition. It's just, I was in that body. Oops, I'm no longer in that body. I can't tell. about death itself, because I've never technically not died in this lifetime and came back in this lifetime. I don't, where am I going with this conversation? Only God knows.
I don't know, but I'm with you. I'm with you because it just the thing is, it reminds me of a conversation that I had with a cousin of mine, actually, who he's passed as well now, and I was trying to put forward a theory to him that he just felt was complete nonsense. Just because what I was the theory that I was like passing on to him was like of water, because water has so many different states. So I'm just saying, like, so we're always water, but sometimes you're going to be like solid, or sometimes you're going to be steam, or sometimes you're going to be, you know, so you're always the same thing, but you just move through different states. And he just thought it was foolishness. And now that he's passed, I'm like, I wish we could.
I'm sure he's looking
I'm just like wondering. It's like, Carl, remember that conversation when you thought that I was talking nonsense? Because I just want you to like let me know that I think there's more to it. And you
now
just,
what do you think
exactly. It's like, now that you're there, it's like, can you just let me know?
Back, please.
Exactly. Can you just let me know that even though I've never died in this lifetime, that I was right?
I know.
I remember that conversation like it was like a second ago, and that's time is another conversation. But do you know what I mean? It was like one of those going, doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, this is what I think, and it's like now it's like, how can you? I'll have to think about a certain thing related to him, so I'll know, because I'll look out, because I'm all for signs and I see them all the time. So you know, I just need to go. Okay, this is the sign. You need to just. You've got a few days. Let me know that I was right.
Exactly. Let me know.
Yeah, and also let me know that you're linking up with a few people over there as well, because you know we're still here. We're still trying the hard way. Oh God.
I know.
Well, thank you for that. So I'm going to ask you these questions that I know that you don't want to answer.
Oh, what are these questions? Shoot me.
Okay. So the first one is, so what is the best piece of advice a woman has ever given to you?
Oh, that's a question.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about what's the best piece of advice that a woman has ever given to me. The reason why it's so hard for me to think about that is that like each time I think about it, I'm just thinking about my younger years. And so the advice that I was getting back then was really about like more like a fighting kind of advice. So it was advice from maybe my aunties, or you know, all the women in kind of like the clan, and for them at the time it was more like very survival. They were really in survival mode, because like I grew up in a culture where women didn't, even still now it's gotten better, but like the women's place in society wasn't so like not so good. How would I say that? It's almost like second class or third class citizen, like not much power at all. And so like when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, that was the era where like all women were like more power to us, like we have to break out of this cycles, and it's enough is enough. So it was more about that. But when I look at it now, I know, because I actually carried those into my adulthood. And I realized that when I went into my adulthood, everything that I was trying to fight, I created. Because we like, you know, like, and I realized, damn, these ladies gave me bad advice, even though they meant to. Even though they meant very well. I realized how like it's not about fighting, but it's more about really surrendering and focusing on what we want to create instead. With that said, I still haven't given you any advice. The best piece of advice I'm thinking that a woman will have given to me, will have given me. Damn. why does it have to be a woman though?
Well, I was just kind of tying it in with like her conversations and
Her conversation.
the awakening woman and blah blah. Just kind of keep. Not that I'm not against guys at all. I just thought.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Oh my God! It just came to me. Actually, it is really the best piece of advice that it's not personally. I didn't get it personally from the person. I actually read it on a quote by Michelle Obama one time. It made a huge difference in my life. It said something like, a failure is a part of success. You cannot succeed without failing. And I was like, it hit me. And I was like, all these times I was doing everything in my power not to fail. I read that somewhere by Michelle Obama. I remember this. Yeah. This was maybe 4 years ago, 3 years, not so long ago actually that I read it. And I was like, and it hit me. I still got chills as I shared that. And ever since then, it was like freeing. It was very freeing because I grew up in a way where like I tried to be a good little girl and never make mistakes. Right? And I tried so hard, and it was so energetically consuming. Oh God. It consumed every single cell of my body.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but then before I read that quote, I was already starting to awaken to the fact that it was okay to make mistakes. And then after I read that quote, I was like, oh, it's not just okay to make mistakes. It actually, mistakes are a necessary part of growth. That failing is a necessary part of growth. And it blew my mind away. And ever since then, I've actually lived by that a lot. Whenever I start anything new, and before, if I start anything new and then it doesn't go my way, it was very easy for me to say, oh, well, that was that, and jump onto something else. Now I can tell and I can see very clearly, oh, okay, it just means that, okay, this is one part that didn't work. How can I work it a different way? And there's no shame around it. There's actually, now I celebrate I really, it's like, oh, that just means I just learned something new.
Yeah.
I think
I think the mindset and the understanding of what failure actually means now is changing, in particular with more people taking on entrepreneurial pursuits, which is like one long catalogue of failing, basically. Because if I think about, the amount of catastrophe and failures that I've gone through in my life, and I've heard a quite similar, but it was attributed, I think, to Will Smith. It was like fail fast or fail forward, or
Will Smith also said
many people have
many
kind
people
of like
have said it, like phrased it different ways.
And
but at the root of it all, it's the same.
It's the same thing. And I'm just thinking, someone else said it, I don't know if it's like Einstein or one of those kind of inventors, where they've like, I failed 1,000 times, but it's when I think about the failures that I've had, and then and to a certain extent kind of like hiding them and not really talking about the failures and all of the kind of thing. It's like, but if I kind of look back on all of these failures, it's just showing how many attempts I've made at a certain thing. And the fact that I'm still going through what could be perceived as a failure period is just, I'm tweaking and becoming more fine-tuned and like just course correcting, until it'll be super streamlined. So the one is like, I've failed more times than many people have tried. I can sit in that camp.
I think most people that we see that are successful, quote unquote, I think they wouldn't have, like, it's not an accident. They just don't get accidentally to, like Oprah didn't get to where she is because she made one interview and she said, wow, that was it. Or you see what I mean? It's like, and I'm sure I've heard about things that she's done and didn't, necessarily succeed at first, right? Or who else? Bill Gates, or like recently I heard the story of do you guys have KFC? I'm not a big fast food person, but
the chicken place. Yeah, he didn't make it until he was like 60, 70 years old or something.
Yes. And do you know how many no's he got before he got a yes? 1,000 times and change.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, this guy's resilient, right? How many people have given up after the 4th trial?
Yeah.
Or the 5th one?
Yeah. That's that's when you're talking about vision and failing and just, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
And regarding higher energetic resonance, what woman represents higher energetic resonance to you?
Oh, this is so funny. All right. Okay, so just as you said that, like my girl, like you and I had this, like you asked me before, and I was like, my grandma, and now she came in very like, yeah, she does. I didn't know her very much. I was very young when she passed away. But the stories I heard about her, because again, like I said earlier, the society I grew up in was more a society of women are like second-class citizens, like literal. I don't want to say it, but it's the truth, you know. But I remember one time, my dad, he didn't talk very much about his mom or even his dad. But I remember my dad has passed away since. I remember one time he was talking about his mom with like so fondly and with so much love. With so much love, it was so palpable. But the thing he said about her was, he said basically she was the person that was disciplining them in the house. Usually in a household in my country, it was more like the man was like the tougher guy and the one that but my dad's dad was more gentle with them, and like from a kid's perspective it was better. For a kid's perspective, he was gentler, he was kinder, he was probably giving them everything that they wanted. But his mom was like, she was like a really tough cookie. And I remember, like, I can never forget this, how when she spoke of her, she said, had it not been for her, they would not have made it in life. Back then, she was so tough on them, right? She was very like disciplining them a lot. And back then, they thought she was the bad guy, pretty much. It wasn't until they grew up that they realized, oh my God, she had their best interest at heart, right? And when I think about it, like it could make me cry actually, because when I think about it, I think of a woman that really, maybe regardless of maybe what anybody else around her may have thought, or even her children, they may not have liked her very much, she thought of their future. And she held on to, like she was very centered and grounded enough to do that for them. And so that's something that has been coming up to mind a lot for me lately. And I'm so grateful for her. Because of her, my dad was who he was. And because of her, I'm so grateful that I have her blood going through my veins now. And also, like, she was the original entrepreneur.
Right.
She was when she passed away, when a lot of women surrendered to the faith in society. When she passed away, she had a fortune. Well, what could have been considered a fortune in the village. A lot of people were surprised. Even though I didn't know her very much, I inherited some things from her. And for me, she is it. Yeah. And to her, I'm forever grateful. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Wow. Where we went with this.
But that's beautiful, and it just makes like you say, thinking about those women who hold a position in your past that you may or may not have had much contact with, and then also, like you say, people may not have understood or particularly liked.
Yes.
And the sacrifice that they made was the vision that they had for the people, that you have to hold the vision past even your own kind of comfort at that time. That's strength in itself, you know. The vision past, okay, it doesn't matter what you think about me, and maybe you might never thank me in your lifetime, but it will change the course of your life to do so.
Yes, and she changed the course of her future generations. Actually, literally, she did that. She did that. That's probably why I'm such a rebel when it comes to the women's place in society. In my society, you see what I mean?
Sure.
So
that is a beautiful, beautiful testimony. I love it. So good.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite rituals and self-care practice?
Oh, let's see. I like taking baths. Yeah, I like. That's the first place I like to go to. I like taking baths. That's when I want to indulge and really do that. But my favorite thing to do is, of course, I'm sure you can guess, is connect with myself energetically. Whether it's through moving meditation, whether it's walking in nature. I love walking in nature. I love hiking. I love all things nature. But when I'm there, when I can literally pull cosmic energy inside of my body, connect with my true essence, there's nothing it doesn't get any better than that. Sometimes you can catch me tears coming down because I'm so deeply connected at the time. So that would be it for me, connecting energetically with myself. And the funny thing is, what I have come to learn is that it doesn't have to be this is for me, I'm still expanding into this. It doesn't have to be me sitting down in meditation posture. It doesn't necessarily have to be me being in the in the hood, or going into the mountains or anything like that. But what I've been practicing more and more now is how to access that no matter where I am. No matter whether I'm in a hockey game with my kids, or no matter whether I am even in front of somebody that's giving me an experience that I'm not necessarily having pleasure having. You see what I mean? How can I pull that in? How can I access that no matter where I am? So that's my practice now. That's my practice.
Beautiful. Beautiful things. So what is coming next for you? What's on the horizon?
Oh, wow. There's so much. I don't even know where to start. Let me think. Let me just pick one big thing that's happening now. What's the big thing that's happening now? Okay. I think the next thing that's happening now that I can share, since you are in Europe, is I'm coming to Europe. I'm coming to very likely the UK, Ireland, and Netherlands, and very likely in Paris. I'm going to do a mini tour,
like a rock star,
the energetic guru. The energetic guru tour.
I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be clocking your social media from You're sitting there trying to work out the copy for your next stuff, and it will be like, But on the lighter side of things, guru means teacher. To me, but it just unfortunately it's become.
It has a different connotation. It's like a lot of people have preconceived ideas around it, so it's okay. It's all good. For me, for me, it's not a bad word. For me, it's more like, oh, can I hold up to that word? It's more like, oh, do I deserve to be called that word? It's more like that than anything else, really. Oh, that's big.
It is.
So that's what's coming up. I'll be in Europe in July, but before then, I have a retreat coming up in Sedona, Arizona, coming up on June the 8th to the 10th. June the 8th to the 10th, and yeah, that's what's happening. I love doing this. I love, like, that's one of my favorite things to do is connecting with other human beings on the planet and sharing my own energetic experience with them. Yeah.
Perfect. And where can people find you online?
Oh, Dihessa.com. 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 Yes.
Perfect. And you're on Instagram as, what's your Instagram? Is it just Dihessa? Or
No, on Instagram it's Dihessa B. Dihessa B. B as in boy. Yes. B as in Bodjona. That's my last initial. Dihessa B. Yeah. That's on Instagram. Or I also have a Facebook group that's called Bees a Love Story. Bees and then colon. A love story. We have lots of fun there, and yeah, I enjoy sharing lots of sometimes training, sometimes just inspiration, sometimes whatever comes up. Some workshops there sometimes, and whatever comes up. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, I just want to say thank you.
Are you kidding me? Thank you. I had so much fun. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. It's just been good. It's been fun. It's been a laugh. You know, it's easy. See, I told you it would be. Yeah. It's just me. I don't do hard interviews. I just want to find out about so many amazing women, you know, and every time I do this, it just I'm like this, what it's turning into, just speaking to all of these women and just putting this collection of women together and kind of bringing them together on a platform. And so for the people who listen to the podcast can just realize there's so many different ways of living your life.
Yes.
You know, and so many.
At the end of it, it's the same.
Yeah.
Different, yeah.
At the end of you know, even when I ask these questions, especially the first one, like, you know, when do you feel you're most hurt? Even though the answers are different, the core is the same. The reason when they feel they're hurt is when they're doing their thing, you know, and that's the point of getting. Listen to all these women; they're different, but they're the same, and they're you.
Yeah, I know, right? It's different ways of saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what the fighting is all about, doesn't it? We all here for the same damn thing.
Exactly. The confusion, and there need not be any. You know, and it's interesting because when you see how seamless things can go, you wonder why people make it so difficult, and there's no reason.
I know.
You know.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been very delightful. That's the word that comes up. It was a delight to have this conversation with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you.
Yeah. I know this week has been a lot of launching and everything like that. So it's been like you said, once you've got everything out there, then it's a matter of just spreading the word and getting more people to kind of be involved in it. But Her Life Academy is out now, so it's open, and I've just started it. So
what do you do in Her Life Academy?
So Her Life Academy it comes from the Her idea, higher energetic resonance. That stems from a book, basically, that I've been working on for way too long. So that's coming up. So I've given myself a deadline by the second year anniversary of this podcast, the book will be out. But it's kind of my own personal memoir about my own coming into her. And there's 3 aspects: spirituality, sensuality, and soul. So spirituality is as it says. Sensuality is very much dealing with the physical aspects of life. So, you know, the way that we treat our bodies, our health, our relationships, our money. And then soul is about what we give back to the world. So using us, using our stories, using our traumas, using whatever it is and turning it into something good. And that could be a business, or, you know, the way that you hold your family together, or what you do in the community. So I've just turned it into a monthly teaching. every month we'll move through a different thing, and every week you'll get a different lesson. Every month there'll be a meditation, and also there will be a webinar as well. So I literally launched it 2 days ago. And then, so if anyone's listening now, it's free until the beginning of June. And then it's going to be, I'm going to keep the price super, super low, because I want, spiritual teaching and spiritual work can sometimes be cost prohibitive. The more people enjoy it, the more people enjoy it.
Okay. All right. What was I going? I was going to ask you a question. I forgot. I guess the question wasn't meant to be.
No. Well, email me.
Oh, yeah. Here's the question. So it's a membership. So like this is something that people can be a member of for as long as they want to.
Yeah. So you like at the academy. So you can be in it from, I'm going to keep it running till it feels like it's right not to run it, but I have a lot of content planned out for a long time. The idea is that you just tap into it. Like this month is about higher energetic resonance and finding that her essence in yourself. And the first week of that little month this week is about fun. And it's like, I send out a little booklet where it's like, when did you last have fun? Because some people just don't, and you don't even realize you're not having fun. So, you just
that is no fun, not to realize that you're not even having fun.
Because you just get on with life, and you forget that you haven't laughed or you haven't done a chill out or anything like that. So it's literally just sit down, write down a list of the things that you think are fun, and then you have to commit to do at least 2 or 3 of those this week. That's it.
It sounds fun.
Yeah. And
I have to make a list for myself.
Yeah. Check it out. Have a look.
Yeah, I have to make a list for myself. Yeah.
Have a look.
Actually, like once a week, this is what I do. Once a week is I made it a point to, like in the middle of the week, every Wednesday, like I go hiking, I go like have fun with some of my friends, or we like nature a lot, so we like to go into the mountains or do something fun outdoors. So
it's worth it.
I do see. Fun is important.
Yeah. And people forget, and they kind of push it back to it's for the kids, and then we're adults. But most of the adults that I've met are just kids, just really confused children. Myself included. Exactly.
That's all of us are just confused little children. Or big children.
Just like what are we supposed to do now? I include myself right in the center of that.
but I think that actually there's something to say about having like a kid's mind. Like there's nothing more pure than that.
Good, because I haven't lost mine, and I'm not losing it anytime soon.
There's nothing more pure than that. Like kids' curiosity, where like they always like wanting to know more, as opposed to some of us. A lot of the time, as adults, we think we know it all. That's the fastest way to shrink ourselves, energetically.
So that's what's happening. Thank you for interviewing me about that.
My pleasure. Anytime.
That's perfect. So thank you.
Thank you. It was so lovely.
Thank you, Dihessa, for joining me on this episode of Her Conversations, and thank you for listening. You can discover more about me by visiting my website, carolmaywhittick.com. That's carolmaywhittick.com. And also, Her Life Academy is now open. This is monthly instruction and inspiration for the awakening woman. And you heard me speak about it with Dihessa. You can have a look at herlifeacademy.com and also follow Her Life Academy at Her Life Academy on Instagram. On social media, you can find me personally under Carol May Whittick on Facebook, and my Instagram is @Casmic, that's CAZMICK. Also, I'd appreciate you leaving a comment, liking, sharing any episodes, subscribing so that you can be notified as soon as a new episode is published. So until the next week, have a great one. Bye.